Okay. Hi. Today I am inspired by a group of my friends that are also my professional colleagues and coworkers. They want me to do a series which I talk about trauma-informed yoga to help support mental clinicians. And I did my whole master's thesis on this, so we're going to take little bite sizes and I'm going to build on that as we go. So I first just want to name that this is a bottom-up model. It's based on a bottom-up model, hi prods. And I also want to name that I was deeply influenced through my education at JFK through the transpersonal realm, and then also my education with somatic experiencing and becoming a somatic experiencing practitioner to help me process unprocessed trauma for myself and also the clients I work with. So what I would like to slowly go into, and I'm just going to do these in small little places where I'm going to do one little pose and I'll give you an idea of how I work with a client. And this is a very layered, complex thing. So as a mental health clinician, you're always tracking your client. You're always realizing where they are. Do they have a tendency to not be able to, like, are they flat in affect, and or do they have a tendency to have adrenaline, or are they disassociated often? So having that frame of reference kind of guiding you because you're tracking them, and then kind of seeing their overall patterns that kind of emerge because you're tracking them is very important. And I can go deeper into that as this series goes on. So what I would like to say in this little snippet that I'm starting off with is that it's also very important that we're starting from a place where the client has, or you're building on, body awareness. And I find it very important to build on body awareness through a pleasure model. It's something I learned in SE, and then Steve created Organic Intelligence, and he very much talks about building these states of your ability to feel good in your own experience. And so I start yoga in a way that's providing a container for my client, that we're building internal resources so the client has a place to come and return that feels pleasurable, safe, and good. And I do that before touching on any of the trauma and the things that the body is holding. So when we get to that material, it's not overwhelming. So I'll just kind of start there because there's a lot of ways in which I might have to interject, or I might have to slow down the process, or I might have to speed it up depending on what I'm tracking. And I also want to say that I feel like each individual that's sitting in front of me has innate wisdom, and their body is providing infinite wisdom at all times. So, and it's just my ability to be connected, to be able to mirror and see things that the body's already providing. And so I'm just going to do in this series one pose each time, and then talk a little bit more on how I kind of go into that. Starting off with a client, I always feel that it would depend on what the presentation is, on what yoga pose I might think about doing. But today I'm going to go and just do this like modified cat-cow, which could be done sitting on your knees like in rock pose, or it can be done crisscross applesauce, or it can be done on your hands and knees in actual traditional cat-cow pose. And I'm going to demonstrate today in rock pose because I think that this is most accessible to most people. And I'm starting with this because I think it's really important before yoga is fully introduced that there's a connection to center and the spine. There's a connection to your pelvis and your backbone, and there's a connection to even the positioning of your neck. And not that we're going to change any of that, but that we're going to have some type of internal awareness, because all yoga is built off of the breath and alignment. And so I think it's very important, and I take it very seriously, help guide the client to their internal knowing of where their body's kind of positioned. And that also gives me an idea of where my clients' holding patterns are. So it's just information for me to take in. So with the modified cat-cow, we're able, and I wouldn't do this, I do things very gently, slowly, lightly, and titrated. So I'll just ask them if they're comfortable to close their eyes and just kind of come to their center and just see where they feel is centered. And a lot of times you'll just notice that clients are kind of totally tilted or slumped over, which won't be much different than the pattern you're also kind of tracking in the room somatically. Or they're hyperextended in their back, and it's just information. And then I ask them to just like gently get in touch with their breath, and I'm just noticing how they breathe. Like, are they breathing high in their chest? Are they able to drop down into their belly? How do they breathe? And then I'll have them do just like a gentle rock back and forward. And then I'll have them come back to center and just notice what they notice. And a lot of clients will be like, oh, it feels so good to stretch back, or it felt so weird to like look up, or this is silly, I'm not used to moving my body. And where I go with that is if they innately give me something like, hey, that felt so good, I'll go back into it a little bit. I'll be like, oh, what felt so good about that? That does feel so good. And I'll kind of feel into what feels so good with them. And a lot of times they can't name things because sensations are difficult. A, I work with children, and B, trauma, a lot of times we have shut out pieces, and sensations are actually like kind of paired or coupled with too much or bad, and so we disassociate, and so then we can't even access the good things as easily. So I will tell them how I feel, and I'll kind of give them a menu. Like when I stretch up, that does feel weird, but when I stretch back, oh, I can feel this like warmth in the lower part of my back, and I can feel my shoulders opening, and just come back up and notice how that feels for you. And then a lot of times what happens is a whole dialogue will come up around the exploration, around maybe an image that came up, around potentially what was good and then what was bad, so you'll get a small like pendulation, and it's really incredible. And this body is so wise, and it's just so inspiring to me to see these people I work with do these amazing, incredible things and re-inspire me to continue my process and growth. And you know, I just feel so blessed to be on this journey, and the healing that takes place in this space. So that's all for today for trauma-informed yoga for mental health clinicians, and I will come back and continue to do deeper exploration, get a little deeper on other things I'm looking for, give more yoga poses and how I work through them. And I just thank you all my fellow coworkers who inspired me and want me to do this, and just like believe in me this way. I am so deeply honored, and I'm thankful that you're in my life. And thank you. So have a wonderful, beautiful day, and my light honors your light. Namaste.